Hello. How is everybody? Somebody said in the comments, I'm ready. So we're ready too. We're ready too. Look what we have. We have actual books. This is Neeka Jeter, ladies and gentlemen. She is, editor's not big enough word. It's not a big enough word for what you did. She's actually really a writer in real life. I just play one on Facebook. And she has been a godsend through this process. She is a copy editor, a writer, a professional in this field, and she took on this amateur project to help me write a book, and kind of gave me direction. Not kind of gave me the direction to take this in and to make it what it is. Neeka.
It was really a really good partnership in learning how to share, how to connect and how to share. And that was like foundational to how we were able to work together.
That is
having never done it before.
Not even being in person. This is our first time seeing each other in person.
As it started.
That is true.
So,
yeah. So it's in your hand.
It's amazing to see this come full circle. We had a deadline.
We did.
It's been 5 days from deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I had sleepless nights because I didn't want to disappoint you.
Oh.
And it meant so much. It was an honor for you to even ask me to do something as important as this. And I just, from the beginning, there was no way I was saying no. I was like, I knew I was supposed to do this. It was like, it just felt right. And so, can we tell what happened when we met the first time?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were attending a party. We'd never met each other before. And
what did we think, 3 years ago?
Yeah. And I'm an extrovert, introvert person. So,
and I'm an introvert.
I'm in there having fun with everybody. And then I reach my limit. And I go outside on the deck, which is important to our process, the deck. And so when I go out on the deck, Dorna's on the deck. So this is the two of us. And we've never met, and we just started talking. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea what she'd been through, what had just happened, because it was fresh then. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, we started having a conversation, and she told me what happened. Mm-hmm. And we connected.
Yeah.
And then I guess we saw each other a few times after that. Right. But we didn't, and we promised that we kept each other's numbers, but we didn't. And I noticed that when you called me that night, that you were in my phone. And I said, oh, wow. Sometimes you're supposed to give it some air, connect, give it some air. But I guess our time was coming. And that was just the beginning of everything. And for us to connect then, and then to be able to connect, it's about trust.
Yeah.
And giving space. So I had fears about, the weight of everything. I talk about the weight a lot, but I had fears about, am I going to be able to do what she needs to be done in this time frame? But I mean, it was scary. But I
had the nerve to be like, hi, I've never written a book before and I need to release this in 3 weeks. Can you help me? How much?
Like, let's just do it and see what happens. I'm not like, we'll worry about it. Let's just, what's the first page? And then Dorna, right? So she comes with this draft. And so I'm like, oh, well, she got a lot of it. And then I thought about it and I said, okay, Neeka, let's think about, potentials of writing. What's the most important thing for a story like this? And I was like, it's her story. It has to be her story. And just listening to her talk, I was like, I wish that everybody could connect and hear your voice, hear it in the way you describe it. And so if you told it to someone and let them write it, it would lose so much. Mm-hmm. Because it really touches, it touches your heart, but it also makes you think. Mm-hmm. It was like, you weren't like, this is overwhelming and I can't hardly get it out. It was like, this is what happened. This is how it felt. This is who I'm impacted. And as a strategic communicator, I'm looking at all these things, like who's going to be the audience? What are the things we need to pull out? And then I'm motherly like, so I'm protecting. I'm like, okay, I care if that's me. That's context.
Yeah.
We're not sharing
that. Right. Which was music to my ears.
Right. And it was so easy to do that with you. And then since we released the book, and I've actually gotten a chance to talk to some of your friends, they're like, we can't believe Dorna did what you told her to do. I was like, really? It was like, it wasn't like that though. It was more, here's where we are, and this is what it sounds like. What can we do to make it more balanced and to make sure we're not losing anything? And I just wanted to, like, Dorna's driving, and I've got the map, even though, we do GPS now. But I was like, I really wanted to make sure that this overwhelmingly emotional topic didn't get us off track. And it ended up being one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, right? Wow. Ever. And so I just want to thank you for that and for letting me come along on the ride. And I knew from the beginning this was going to be.
And see, that's really the thing, is that I was just shooting in the dark, and I had these questions. Why am I doing this? Who's going to care? What difference does this make? Because for me, everything has to have an intention, and it has to have some positive purpose. I can't just be doing something just because it's Wednesday and I don't have anything to do, right? So I was really trying to figure out why, who, what, when, why, where. I knew I had this mandate almost, to get this done and by this date, but I was a little lost on it, and you gave me reassurance really after reading the part you read was the part I dictated. You remember that? I dictated the first 4 chapters because I couldn't even type it as fast as it was coming. And
you told me that, you said, it's coming. We'll just work through all of that. And I'll say, well, don't worry about anything. Don't worry about the grammar. Just to get the story out, and then we'll go through it. And then that's when we started the process where I said, okay, Dorna, let's stop and you read it to me. And just hearing your voice, hearing where you had to pause, where we had to take breaks. And I don't mean she had to take breaks. I mean, I had to take a break. And Dorna would be like, are you all right? I was like, oh yeah.
Because I'm assuming everybody that's on here has read the book at this point. I will tell you, when she got to the part where my mother-in-law gave us the angel wings ornament, she started crying.
I was like, just wait a minute. Hold on. And that's when I started drinking.
There was some drinking and some cigars involved in getting this book finished. I'm not gonna even lie to y'all, because y'all already know. Hello, Annie. Hello, Kiatra. But you just telling me, one of the first things you said, because again, I'm not a writer, I'm a songwriter. I do. And I ain't done this in 20 years. We're in my studio tonight, so I have room for 2. Which I haven't been in here in a year. Probably it's dust, probably spider webs, but I'm a songwriter, if anything. Certainly have never written a book, never even thought about writing a book. So for you to say to me, you have a voice, this just needs to be in that voice, and I can show you how to get there.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this could actually end up being helpful to me, like fun and not a chore. Right. And then I started looking forward to it.
Yes, me too. I was like, I miss our our late nights. Like it was, but it had to be that because it had to be peaceful. We had to not be distracted by everything that happens in life, and so you had to like think about my schedule, and then I was thinking about yours. Yeah,
because like for us to get sitting down somewhere at 7 o'clock tonight, y'all. Chaos. I have been on a panel speaking. Yeah. My child is home from school. I've been running around in circles. You have flown in today. From we go on a trip like so 10. We would be 10, 11, sometimes midnight before we would sit down and work.
And then we couldn't stop. That was the other thing. It's like one we got flowing, and then even after we sign off, and it would take us forever to sign off because we'd also planned where we're going to start next. But it would be hard to sign off because we kept thinking you can't turn it off.
And what I would do is after we would hang up, because we were on, I don't want to endorse anything, but we were on a video chat with her screen and she was live editing what I've typed. So I would try to stay ahead of her, and she would go in and live edit what I've typed and make me read it to her. So many of you have said it sounds like, those of you that know me really well and have to listen to me talk, have said it sounds like a conversation, and that's because of her, because she had me read it to keep it in my voice. And that, it's like a page turner, because it's like, well, what's she gonna say next? Because it's like I've written a long letter.
Yeah. I know, still, even in the beginning, it was missing something. I was like, I'm not focusing on the right things. It's like, it's so much. And then I had to think about, how do we make it more Dorna, make it your story, let everybody else tell their own story. How do we make it what happened to you? How did you feel about it? So we were stopping so that we could deep dive into some of the things. Even though we didn't write all of those things, I would ask you, like, okay, well, how did that feel? And what did it look like? Because Dorna is actually a poetic writer. So she paints with words. And so you end up seeing things just from the way she describes them. And then but she also has flourish, I have to say that. So Dorna will say something and then it'll be perfect. And then she'll add 5 other things. I'm like, take that out, go back to the basics, go back to that first initial thing, trust that first thing. She's like, but she's overthinking the writing part because she wants to make sure you understand everything else. Like, everything we can't define and explain in detail, but we can give what that felt like to you. What did it look like? And who was around you when that happens? Let's paint that picture because you're so good at that. And so it was easy to figure out our formula and get to that. And that was the speaking at the interviews that we did in between for context. And then just me. Oh, and then we would race. So what you would write and I try to catch up.
And I would try to stay ahead of you.
Yeah. Like, I'm ahead of you. And I was like, well, maybe not. So I'm going to do this. And then she start. And then we had color coding, which used to overwhelm me because I was like, all of this, we're going to highlight it in green for Dorna. So we highlight things in green. And then I would write in purple things that I wanted her to think about or add. And then when we finished, we black it out.
Black.
And it's like, oh, so look how the black
gradually it started to look like this.
Yeah.
Black. And it was like, we're getting there, and it's only October 5th.
Yeah, so like, we blacked it out. But then some things, it was hard. Like, we had these green sections, these highlights that we couldn't get through. We would go back and back. It's like, it's just not right. And we put more in, or we take some out. And I was like, Dorna, I don't want to lose it. So the editing wasn't just about, this is grammatically correct, or should we? It was like, let's see if we can feel this from what you're saying. I'm like, tell it to me again. Tell me what actually happened. Like, when you fell, how did you fall? It's just like, I'm gonna put all those. Like, no, we're not putting all that in. But I need to see it. I need to see it in my mind. And I said, okay, then let's try it this way. And we tried different iterations of it. And when we finally connect, we take the highlight off, and we were like, winning. So Dorna had all of these wins before she even finished the book. We accomplished something in every chapter.
Yep. And that's why it was so cathartic and healing for me, because I was not only just what you all see on the page, but the conversation that she was drawing out of me about how I felt or what I thought, or just spending 3 weeks back in that time of my life when I'm so far from it mentally now, and not being emotionally, like, I didn't cry. I wasn't crying. You were.
Right.
Not being so emotionally attached to it, going back through the photographs, like I went back through my phone, y'all, during that time period. Pictures and text messages and stuff. Now that was tough. I had a hard time with that.
And then what you did was start, because I'd never even seen William's picture on purpose. I didn't look, I just wanted to imagine it from the writing. So when I finally saw you two together, that was a whole nother thing for me, because I didn't know him, but I knew him, if you understand it. So I started knowing it. And then to see it all, I was like, she nailed it. She got it. I knew it was right. And I'm glad that was the timing for the process was perfect.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh yes, I don't want to draw pictures from things I actually saw or video. I was like, I just want you to tell me. I want you to tell me, just like you did on that deck when we first met. So it resonated. I never forgot it. I always prayed about you and the kids. And I mean, I knew their names. I knew Trey and Ashley, and I never forgot it just from that first conversation. And people don't do that, but I think it was meant for me to be touched and connected then, but I never it would be this. And I was so hesitant, and I was like, we've never done this before.
So this is the Sherry Collier impact. She had primed the pump with you before.
You're gonna do it. Here's the call. Y'all get together.
Yeah, I've already, and then she texted me, call her tonight. I've already set it up. I can't leave anything to chance. She's ready. And I'm like, okay. Thank God.
We're gonna get started today.
Tonight. Yeah, that night. We have a question. What made y'all decide to use a flashback in writing this story? I thought that was great. So, Althea, when I made up my mind to do it, I was in my kitchen cooking, minding my business. Neeka didn't even know Cherry hadn't even been asked to contact her yet. And when I used to write songs, when I would hear the music, if I was going to write the song, I was going to write it as soon as the first time I heard the music, it was just going to all come. If nothing came after one time, I might listen to it a few more times after that. I'm not going to hear anything. So I would move on. So I'm in my kitchen making whatever table on it, sloppy joes or something. And the book starts coming, like the word for word. I don't know if this is how God plays with my mind or communicates with me or a little bit of
both. You told me you would see the chapters.
Oh, we'll see it.
So you see the chapters. And I was like,
so I put and where it started was the last thing William said to me with that text message. That's where it started. I didn't look back at the text message. I hadn't looked at it in probably 3 years, but I knew exactly what it said. And I was right when I went back and looked at the pictures.
Right.
And so I went out on the deck and I just turned on this iPad and I just dictated. So it started at the end because that's what came to me first. And then as I'm going through telling the story, I'm like, well, I got to explain, do what you know how to do. And that requires me to go back to the beginning. So the flashback was by necessity, so that I didn't think I could go much further in the story without saying, this is what I'm talking about here.
It was bigger than that.
Yes.
The book was bigger. It was more detail because it was a lot of people's stories in the beginning. When you first started, I guess you were thinking through the dictation, but that was also a good part because then you could like see yourself in this and yourself. I was like, they're going to really connect with your ability to move through it, to navigate it. We talked about navigating and how you had to pivot when things were happening. So I think that was a good choice.
I think so. And I thank you. Somebody said, Keatra says book is amazing. Thank you. Deidre got her copy yesterday. Thank you, Deidre. Hopefully this, touches you right where you need it as well. So many people y'all have been sending me pictures of your book as it's arriving. And I'm like,
Well, yeah, this is the first time I saw it today.
Yes.
And so I'm just like, it's amazing to see it. Like, it's for real. Not on the computer.
And it's not 2 pages. I was like, it's not super thin. It's just as much as we could do without making it too. It's just the way it's supposed to be. I'm not even gonna try to over explain it. It's just enough. It's too heavy to carry on forever. 600 pages or whatever. It's not the kind of story. Sheila said she's read it 11 times. You know what, Sheila, it's funny. I was gonna tell you, Neeka, today and yesterday are the first days since we finished that I hadn't read this book. And you might be the same way. I mean, you started to travel, but we read this book every day.
I have it on my phone.
I have it memorized.
Sometimes I look at notes and I'm like, I remember this. We had our sticky note day. And so we just had all these different conversations. And they'll probably end up, there are several sticky notes and they're probably all going to end up being books. So I also, when I went back, the flashback, that's interesting. When I went back originally for the flashback, I went all the way back to college and she was like, no, ma'am, we're going to have to tell that in another book. We got to start
this 4 years, this is the story.
Right.
This,
We don't want to. I guess the way the story unfolded was the way you thought about it when you were dictating, and there's a reason you did it that way. And so I wanted to really embrace that and have people that go along with you as you recall things. What were your triggers afterwards? What were you dealing with? What were you hiding? What was weighing on you? And how did it feel to release when you could release? And all that is like let's let people see that piece, because everything that I felt like I connected with, I was like, I can't be the only one. And not be
you
the
were
only
right.
one.
I mean, you know, you guys, I don't know who's on here. I haven't really looked, but if you have sent me a message, thank you, because I needed that this week, just the reassurance that Neeka wasn't just gassing me up. No, I'm just kidding. And saying that it was something that was connecting or would connect, because it was a lot of personal information
Yes.
to share. And again, I'm the type of person that I'm like, why would I do that? Like, I need a reason. I needed to accomplish something or an intention that's positive to just business.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't need attention.
So
Yeah.
one night we were writing and we forgot we were writing. Right. We were having these conversations and I was like, okay, let's talk through this. And we were talking about what happened. And she just starts like, what is it, spitting bars, just all of this poetry and stuff came out. And then she said, did you get that? I said, no. Did you get that? And we were sitting there like, what are we doing? And Dorna goes, we're gonna have to record some of this because we just went off on these tangents. And I'm like, oh, we should write. Well, that should be in the book. That should be in the book. And then we started calling out certain like we couldn't stop. It's like these things that were big. I don't know how to describe them. I don't know. They were like stops. They're like pause and think about this. This is the piece. These are the words that really made me think or stop me. They made me pause. And so we paused them in the text, right? Because we wanted you to see we couldn't go forward. Right. It was definitely one of those things where we had to talk through it, think through it. Is this enough? And then we figured it was like less does give it the focus that it needed so that you could understand her process. And I think that was a good thing for you, especially because of the way you paint. You make these pictures, you rhyme things when I don't see the rhyme. I was like, I love that. When a songwriter writes a book, and I just flipped one. This one is when the law firm closed. Yeah. Are you talking about these? We call them shots when we were writing. Yeah. 3 months after our wedding, I found out I was expecting. Ashley, our beautiful baby girl, arrived in September. I chose her name and spelled it Ashley to incorporate William's middle name, Lee. I went on maternity leave, and 2 months later, the law firm closed. Doors closed. No paycheck, no advance notice, nothing. And that's how. And that was it was a whole conversation. I was like, no, let's write that. Yeah. I was like, this is what happened, and that's kind of how she was telling me. The doors closed. Like there was no paycheck. I was like, let's put it that way, because you were like, let me explain how this happened. Like all of it is on this page. Maybe I felt like, okay, there's a lot of white space in my life right here. I had a baby, a new husband, a new house, and no job. I didn't go to law school for this. What is that? Sheila says, thank you, Neeka, for being Dorna's midwife to help her birth this book. Your gift is amazing. That is a good way to describe what happened. Yeah, you're right. See, I should know that you got poetic. That is a good way to describe what happened. And the funny thing is, I didn't really tell anybody I was doing this. So my son, who was the only other person living here at the time, didn't know what the hell I was doing. But he's like, he knows I'm not a telephone person. I'm not a video chat person. I'm usually, if I text, that's busy for me. Mm-hmm. And so he would come out and he's like, what are you doing? And I would say writing. Or, you on the phone again? Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, it was so confusing to him, but now I don't know if you were traveling, but he's read it. He loved it. He just wishes he had more screen time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we made space for his story.
Yeah. So he's committed to 2 chapters in the workbook
I love it.
for, I guess, the younger generation or the children of grief, right?
And that's the whole point of this. It's like we're looking more for connection versus commonalities. There's so many people who have similar stories. It's like, but do you connect? Do you see a way through? Do you see how a pivot can change things? Do you see how we hide things?
Do you see how grief is nonlinear? Do you see how we're chugging along thinking we're getting somewhere and then boom, a car crash? All right, now we're boom, a car stolen.
Yeah.
Now we're back in the 2-seater every time. And the trash can.
The trash can.
The trash can.
And it's like, people like, I don't want them to think that you lost yourself so much that you didn't have your humor and your other gifts. It's like you still had those things. So there's humor in it. But I mean, it's a heavy topic. Yeah.
The trash can.
Right.
Or when the man hit my car, I'm like, I won't say what I said.
I'm like sitting there like,
I cursed
everybody out. CNN and what really?
I cursed out everybody and nobody at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's like, but what's weird, Neeka, is, and I've told you this, I didn't realize how much it was like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back until I read it. Even when I was writing it with you, I didn't realize just literally every time you get going, bam.
Yeah.
Hey, get up, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, kids. We gotta do what we know how to do. We can't just stop. And it was like, do what you know how to do was over and over and over. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
We had a long conversation about this Olivia Pope syndrome.
Yeah.
And how that's the whole part. That's a big part of how you carry things. And it's hard to share them when you're the fixer. It's hard to let someone in when you're the fixer. And people are looking to you and depending on you. But when you depend on yourself to release,
you don't.
And
you have to write a whole damn book.
That
dramatic. Yeah.
But in your way.
Yeah.
No one else could have written this
because
book
I had
this
to
way.
put it all in context. I couldn't. I mean, there's somebody that knew everything. Somebody knew about the trash can. Somebody knew about the wreck. Somebody knew about Ashley's wreck. But everybody didn't know all of it.
All of it.
No one person knew all of it. I don't think. Mostly because I hadn't thought about all of it until this process.
Yeah, and it's not like a journal. It's not journaling.
No.
It's just talking through and remembering. And we weren't looking for at 7:05. This happened. It was like this happened, which triggered this to happen. But I was already dealing with this, and then I was like, okay, then pause. What did that feel like? Here and here and here. And when did you stop to plan the next move? Because I could see you doing it. I was like, this is what you're going to do. And then the biggest question I asked was, how do you deal with fear? And we couldn't write that night. We had to really go into that. And her answer, y'all, was like, that's not how I deal with fear. But it inspired me so much because she was telling her truth and I believed it. Just because you told me. And I was like, oh, this is exactly how it applies. I could talking about the flashbacks, I was flashing back from that conversation. I see it here. I see it. I see it. I see it. This is how you deal with fear. So let's talk about it.
And that when reading it back, and just to tell you all, my answer was I don't fear. I get out in front of whatever is scary and fix it so that I don't have to fear it. Right. So I don't just have fear. It's more like, well, okay, what can we do to not have it be so scary? And then it made sense looking at life and looking at this past 4 years, and even the things when she told me, okay, take out some stuff that's prior to meeting William, and let's just keep the story. I then started going back like through my phone chronologically, trying to remember the things that happened. And when I tell you, I had totally forgotten about that Thanksgiving. Completely blacked it out.
But it was huge.
And it made sense. Writing it in the context of what was going on. It's 3 weeks in.
Yeah. Yeah, and then thinking about the chronological thing, it's like, okay, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 4 months later.
No wonder people
it's like, this is not even a year.
Right.
And then it kept going. And it's continuing, but it's different. It's like it's evolving as you're learning to move through it.
Yeah.
Because it's not gone.
No,
it's just
it's never gone.
You were pushed, you were dragged. And when I saw one lady, I said she had a monsoon, a cyclone, and a hurricane, all of that swirling around her. But Dorna decided to grab it all and plant it. And that's the book. And the book came up, and now you have all of this fruit. All of these are your gifts that you're sharing, your insight, the connections that you're allowing, because you don't have to do this. You didn't have to share it. This could have been a journal, a very impressive journal. But yeah, it could have been that I'm not sharing this with anybody.
Yeah, but I did say that to myself.
Yeah.
After
we were done, I was like, maybe
I'm not releasing this.
Oh, I'm just gonna read this.
And if they do, oh my God. But none of you have messaged me and said, girl, you're a trash can. Like y'all are coming at me with the positive. Y'all are maybe you're saying it to each other, and that's fine. But no, this would not have been a journal because I don't journal. But I understand why people, and so I will no longer say I don't journal. I do. I will always do this from now on because.
No, she doesn't. These are just notes for the next.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's notes for the next.
Then
it's gonna be a song. I just see iterations of it coming from you because of your gifts. So I just see you doing, songs about it, having different types of conversations about it. But I just see it in all kinds of forms because there's so much there that they don't know about. It's like it's so much more to this. It's a lot.
And the main thing is that. And you talked about, would you say connection as opposed to, I forgot how you can see. This is what we do. This is what we do. And then you're like,
we like it.
We should have wrote that down. Y'all might remember that people are connecting with the story, not because it's a story, because it's a life that we live, but somebody's thinking they took too long to move their child's toys out of the room that didn't get to come home from the hospital, or somebody is feeling like their mother must not love them because she's grieving their father and ignoring them, or somebody, whatever the different painful relationship losses are that people are going through. They realize, okay, they never wanted to tell anybody how they felt, but if I'm saying, okay, I felt this way, then they know at least one more person that felt that way. Yeah. And that's making a difference for people. That's right. People are crying about William, people that knew him, that, men and manly, and they never cried. They're able to cry.
To get how that felt for you. And how not only how it was affecting you, but how you saw it affect other people. Because that impacted the way you were moving too. Yeah. And so from that perspective,
moving for other people.
Yes.
At least 2 years I was just moving for other people.
And that's how you got your nickname.
Which nickname?
Dope.
Oh. Dope. So she named the Dope Dorna Olivia Pope Effect.
Yes. And I can see it. It just kept coming over.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah. It's also my relationship with my son, who did read it. It's almost like I was terrified. It's enhanced our relationship. It's like he's there's a gratitude for the things that he didn't know that I did.
Yes.
Because I'm not the kind of mother to be like, I did this and I did that. It's like I hope it lasts a while because it's really nice. Yeah. The gratitude that's coming off of him. Ashley is home this weekend, but she's asked not to read it, which I knew she wouldn't want to.
Mhm.
They're just so different like that.
Yeah.
She was like,
Yeah.
I lived it, I'm good.
Right. But just
You
like
like
it
it?
was your time
Yeah.
to write it, they'll have their times to do their process.
Yeah.
But it's like when you're ready to do something, Dorna's gonna do it. There's no stopping. She's like, I was like, whoa, she's driving real fast. Put our seatbelts on. Let's go.
But look, we did it. You know, we got it out.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we were sitting 5 or 6 days just waiting. Like Friday, I was like, I might just drop the ebook because somebody wants to read it now, you know. But we were just waiting on the process.
Yeah. And I love the early reviews. It was like, well, she's being thoughtful, but true. You're being true to yourself and true to your story. So everybody may not agree with it, and that's true with everything. Yeah. But we have to. It was important. This was birthing. This was not an easy experience.
And when I tell you, I have felt like a new woman, a new person, because it doesn't have to do with being a woman, a new person since we said we're done. It's all black. That was it.
When you got halfway through, you go, Neeka. And we blacked out some things. We would look for the waves of black to come through, and you go, it's a book.
It's a book. And at one point, y'all, I had to put it, we had it in a Word document. I had to put it in a book format so I could see it as a book, as opposed to like an essay. Right.
Where's the book? I'm just looking, I just want to see.
I need to see what it looks like on the page, if it looks like a book. And I need to know how many pages is this?
Right. And I'm like, okay, then where do we pick up where we left off? Because now it's and I'm like, okay, give me a second. Let me find this.
Yeah. So that was fun. And little did I know that formatting it was going to be the hardest part of the process. Writing it was easy. Formatting it for the release was really difficult. But I didn't have time to pay anybody because they all want 10 days. And I only gave you like 10.
I know, right.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I gotta figure this out. I had to do what I know how to do, research the rest, put the two together, and I had the whole thing. And I'm pretty happy with it. A resolution mindset. Yeah, that's what I do. Like that's how I eat. That's how I made a living for 25 years, for resolving issues, not thinking about all the things that can go wrong, making sure nothing goes wrong. Right. That's what I do. So why not do it at my house? Right. Let's see. I'm trying to. Shakisha Campbell said, "You just boldly face your fears." That's awesome. I don't know if that's what I'm doing, Shakisha. I think would you say that's what I'm doing? I guess it's facing your fear, but I'm like trying to shoot them down before they even really stand up.
You didn't really have an opportunity to fear.
Right.
It was more how you manage your emotions or push them. Suppress them so that you could get things done. And not get things done like checking things off of a to-do list. Like wake up in the morning and get up and go somewhere. Because there were times when you could not get up. And so, and I mean, that's things that are not really in the book, but
people know they've been through the same stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to call out like every detail that happened, but just knowing that you move through it.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week when Janelle was with me about the strong, or maybe at first when I announced this actually, when people say you're so strong, I think what they think that means is that you don't go through the same process they go through to get to strong. But some of us just don't show you our process, laying on the floor. I mean, you would have never guessed that I slept on Ashley's floor for a week. It might have been longer than that.
Yeah.
But that's where I needed to be. That doesn't look strong. A whole grown woman with 5-bedroom home on the floor, but that's what I needed to get to. That's what I needed to do, but it's nothing that anybody would know. So I said then, being called a strong one is it's not good because it's not a compliment is what I said, because what it means is that I'm just hiding stuff from you, but I'm still going from weak to strong. Now, some people are just so stuck in weak. I get that. And some people don't make it to strong, but every strong person has weak spots. And a lot of you are on here. I know you, you know, Deidre, Sheila, people have gone through some really rough, brief stories and have gotten back to strong. It's not that you just stay strong
for a long time, because then we decided that there were just all these layers to it, and these layers, and they push us down, and there are layers and layers and layers. And then like when you make that choice that I'm going to peel this one off and deal with it and this one, and then you get there, this one I can't move. I'm gonna go around it. You know, this kind of stuff. I can't deal with this piece right now. Compartmentalizing things. You do that, you know.
Oh yeah.
Just figuring out what your process was. We had to deep dive into how you think through things and how you act through things before we could figure out what strong meant.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was better than therapy. Like, no slack to my therapist. No slack to my therapist. She was amazing for what she was doing. Which maybe that's another book, how to approach therapy, because I approached it with a goal.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, there was no way she could make me understand what happened, but I wanted to understand why it happened.
Yeah.
So I went to a therapist who would have seen someone in my husband's shoes.
Yeah.
So that she could help me understand his thought process. That's what I needed to understand, just me personally.
But then William had already told you that know what happened.
And that you really don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So, but I needed to, you know, guilt is always a part of this, right? I could have done more. I missed something. There's something I should have done. Not all the way to it's my fault, because I'm wise enough and have enough therapy to know that you can't, when someone has a plan, they have a plan, and it doesn't have anything to do with you.
But you had to get to that understanding, and so your therapist telling you more about what happens and when you identify it, when you treat someone who is suffering that way. It's like you had to understand that process from different perspectives.
Yes.
Before you could decide what piece was going to be strengthening for you, what would support your next moves and thoughts. And so it was difficult to get through that strong piece in there. And we struggled for a while.
That was green for a long time. Should have made those red, but that would have been more torturous stuff. But yeah, because my thing was, how do I make sure? I looked up statistics and stuff, so I was like, okay.
Yes.
1 in 5 children, people who, and I was like, okay, I have what? So now I'm looking at the kids, like, what do I need to do? Yeah. How do I keep them on the right path? What are triggers? Like, what is going on? How can I be proactive about this? And so, again, instead of being afraid something would happen to one of my children, how much can I educate myself to make sure they have everything they need to be able to weather storms? Yeah. Hear the word no.
That's what resonates a lot with people who are reading it from their conversations and the comments that I've seen. It's this has prompted me to do something. You're not giving them a very prescriptive thing, do this to get here. You're like, this is what happened to me. This is the process. It's a process, and I had to do it this way because this is how I felt. And it resonates, the weight of it, we were talking about being womb-like sometimes. It's like, I can't see outside of this right now. I can only see this, and it's getting smaller. And then when you break out, it's like that breakout impacts other people.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Sheila and a few other people who I think Sheila has told this have been going through their day. If they get stuck on something, they go WWDD. What would Dorna do?
Yes.
Yeah, after reading this, right? And I'm like, okay, what would I do? And I mean, they have,
but you were so honest about, I made some choices, and it was the choice I had to make in order to deal with that hour, to deal with the next minute, because we don't have like that long-term, and you're a strategy person. So when you had to acknowledge that you can't work on your long-term strategy, you were dealing with minute to minute and hour to hour, and it
change. And then it would get to something that looked familiar and you go back because it's like playing whack-a-mole.
Yep.
I hit this and this popped up,
Yep.
and then I hit this and 3 popped up. And I'm like,
Yep.
why?
Like, I don't know why. And I don't even know if they've stopped popping up. I think so. I don't feel like, you know.
But now you're like, I know you're coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like,
I'm like with the bug spray. Because I truly just didn't realize that it was that chaotic until I read it back. Not even, like I said, not even writing it, reading it back was like
reading it. Yeah, that was a really important piece of it, because we had to think, if there's a pause, why? If it's easy for you to go through, why?
And that's why
is that an accomplishment? Do you feel like you won there? Let's talk about that too, because you breezed through this piece, but then that one thing, there would be like one thing that would be a trigger. And so we had to be respectful of it, and we had to go and see, well, is there something here to unfold? The sisterhood there. That was such a strong theme throughout. Like, these are your, when I need support, it was there.
Yeah, didn't even have to.
I couldn't see it all the time, but not because it wasn't there. It's like I wasn't looking at that, but I felt it. So I love that.
That is why I took an aside to explain this is what it feels like to be in a sorority. If you're not and you don't understand, why would somebody? Because of that feeling.
And I'm not in a sorority.
Yeah.
So that, okay, then what it is.
Yeah. So she was able to dive into it.
Yeah. We explained it as if I don't know anything about it. I was like, oh, this worked perfectly.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, in truth, I think I made the post that I was gonna talk about the book, and the group chat with the Line sisters was like, I mean, it just went bananas. They were first in line to go, oh, what? You know? Yeah. Okay, where do we buy it? What do we do? You know, supporting. And I was like, y'all, when y'all see this, first of all, I'm giving you all a copy because you're all through it. Yeah. Because you were there. You know,
that was important.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at like all the people in here that she has, who have come along this journey with her.
The village is tight. The circle is tight. I would take nothing for my journey now, or the people in it. You know, now you're in it.
You're right. I was like, I miss being all night having these talks, because it is something in my life too. It helped me because I think you
worked through some stuff with your mom.
Yeah,
your mom's
exactly.
While we were right now.
It's like,
your caretaker.
Yeah, I isolate and close out, and I was like, okay, I didn't go to that other stuff because I didn't feel like it. I was like, that's a lot.
You didn't have you on the phone pulling you through it. Girl, call me. I'm always up at night. So I told you, we don't have to stop. We don't have to be writing.
Yeah, we wrote several books actually.
Oh, for sure. Rashida says, funny you say that, because reading it was like therapy for me. See that's still
confirmations.
Yes, and I was getting those confirmations before I started writing, while I was writing, and they've just been amazing since it's been out. Just the people that it's resonating with, especially the epilogue.
Yes.
Which I kind of wrote in passing, and then went back and really wrote.
Yeah, there were different versions of the epilogue.
Right.
And so I guess it was like, there's so much to share, but what can you give them? That's where you really gave, like, here are the things that help you do what you know how to do. Here are these things.
Because this is my story, but you have your own. So whatever your story is, we all end up at the epilogue with actionable steps.
Yes.
Right. Otherwise, this is just gossip.
Yes.
And who gossips about themselves besides Jada Pinkett? Right. So if there was no redeeming action steps at the end, this is just a Jada Pinkett Smith.
You got interviewed, you did a long,
and I would never have done that.
But there was something you wanted to give.
Yeah. You know, and then as it was coming together, like this, the whole Shanti's organization, Silence the Shame, and plugging them in, and then the Tony Cornelius story,
Yes.
which I had forgotten happened. So I was looking through my pictures,
They come.
jogging my memory, and I'm like, oh my God, this was 3 weeks later.
Awesome.
Tony sat with me
Yeah.
and just listened and told me what was gonna.
Yeah. And
You
then I
know.
was like, when did it happen? And then I'm
look at
going
it.
back in the story. I'm like, oh, so she had this kind of support here, this kind of connection with someone who gave her support to move it along, because you didn't mention it when it actually happened.
I blocked out so much
Exactly.
stuff.
But it doesn't mean it didn't help you.
No, it
And
did.
so some of these things help. And we don't know when the thing happened, how it's gonna help later.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how much that meant until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When I thought about, okay, he's at this premiere for this television show. It's pre-COVID, so television shows were great. Like, it's a big deal. It wasn't like a Zoom type show.
Right.
And everybody's like, Tony, we need you over here. And he's like, I had this conversation. And he sat with me and just listened to me. And at the time, anybody that was in my presence was just like, are you okay? So it wasn't unusual.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, that was important.
Yes.
Because if I stop and do that with somebody now, I know I did it with this
Right.
lady. Right after I decided to do this, there was a person who I don't know contacted through her sister. I think I've told this, and her husband drowned in the ocean and wasn't able to save him. She hadn't eaten, she hadn't slept. Her sister was just like, if there's anybody that's been through a loss of a spouse, could you please extend yourself so I can connect you with my sister? And I reached out. I mean, I think I had just written the first chapter or downloaded the ones that I spit out.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't sure, and I hadn't connected with you yet. So I wasn't sure.
But you told me, yeah, we talked about it.
And I talked to this lady, and the things I was saying was, I would say something and it would trigger her. She's like, this is what I've been worried about. I said something like, there was nothing more you could have done. She fell apart. This is what I've been telling myself I should have. It's not your fault. Because I know what you're thinking.
Yes.
She's thinking I should have swam out and saved him. Honey, then it would be both of y'all.
Right. That.
Because you can't save him if he couldn't save himself. He was trying,
Well, you see different pictures now of others' experiences because of what you've gone through. And it's like you've given so much inspiration in the way you handle and share it, because it's not easy. I remember when you talked about posting it on Facebook. It's a lot. It wasn't just, I'm just gonna post it on Facebook. It was like I had to give that some thought. I had to be ready for it. And then I had to be ready for the consequences after that.
And so you compare other people.
Yes.
So
you had all these steps before hitting post.
And I was mad.
Yes.
You're talking about when I had to post that he was, yes. Oh, I was pissed off.
Like, oh my goodness.
I was so pissed because, I mean, you guys read the book, so I had to say something because rumors were starting and they were killing everybody. Right? And so it was upsetting people all up and down the family because word is getting around that, all they knew is that my parents left town urgently, somebody died and something was wrong. That's all they knew. Because we just didn't have time to even think about Facebook. Like, Facebook.
And that's when your agenda started. Because you had deadlines that you put, and you had projects that you just started to help you through this, even though you didn't know you were helping yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is a part of, they talk about all the steps of grief, but it's like, that was how those were the steps for your grief, how you dealt with it. And that's when we're talking about, like, my mom, and she had Alzheimer's. So she actually died twice to me. So I don't think I dealt with the grief when she first left me, but when her body left me, I was like, okay, now I have nothing.
No choice but to deal with
I have no choice but to face this way. But because I had the initial grief, I was able to kind of move myself through it. But I wouldn't have been able to, because it was her, if it was another situation. And I think you saw that my steps are different from anybody else. And I look at it differently from anybody else. And that's true for everyone. Because your connections are so personal.
Yes.
And they're so unique. But there are those commonalities that you're like, okay, somebody died, somebody's sad, somebody doesn't know what to do. But then you look at the connection, that was it. The
Connection,
the connection piece. It's like, do I feel comfortable enough to share it with you? Because that's something I don't even talk about. You know, it's like, okay, well, if I share this piece with you, what resonates, what clicks, and then how do I move forward? Because it's been years, and there's no cutoff. We talked about timing. There's no cutoff date to all these things. It's like, okay, that happened 10 months later, 4 months later, 5 months later. It's like, okay, these dates, why are they so important? It's like, and maybe 10 years from now, from even now, and I'm still going to feel the same thing. I'm still going to get triggers that take me right back to the first day. And when you talked about triggers, because we talked about that a long time, it's like, I could be doing something, the wind chime. Oh my goodness. My mom left wind chimes, and I just like, jacked up from some storm. And then the friend came, and he fixed the wind chimes. I was like, oh, I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah.
I remember wind chime. And when you talked, I was like, okay, here we are connecting again. This is something we have in common, but it's beyond having something it was like we connected because I knew what it meant to me.
Yep.
And, it's not that we're endorsing wind chimes, but it's like, it's that whole connection. It's like, those types of things mean something. Me seeing something, me smelling something that smells like her. It's like walking through a house or seeing the kids do something that reminds you, or talking to his parents, or, my favorite thing was the ornament. I was like, somebody give her an ornament. Why is she not getting an ornament now? It was like people think that we will get emotional about the technicalities, the scary parts, but it was a Christmas ornament, and I could not get myself together. I was like, please. And I hadn't finished reading it, and you're like, keep going. I'm like,
I was taking all the time. I said, are you crying?
I was like, no, I was fine. And I didn't even know that there was something good that happened, but that's how we.
I was for me to get an ornament the whole time, and I didn't know that. I was just
Need her to have an ornament. But it was good.
and she gave us everyone in the family that one.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was.
And it's more than just the I mean, I'm making a joke about it, but it was the connection. It's like she made sure, as his mother, that you were going to still feel that thing that you felt whenever you received it, and she didn't forget, and it wasn't altered because of the circumstance.
Or she didn't say, I wasn't up to shopping. She made a way. She wasn't up to shopping, but she made a way. I got some elves in place,
Inspiration. And confirmations. We talked about confirmations a long time. It's like some things we see and we don't acknowledge, but they're really confirmations that we're doing the right thing. We're on the right path. We're feeling something that may be unusual, but we're allowed to do that. We have to allow ourselves, give us grace. We're talking about grace. We have to give ourselves grace, and then we can move at your pace.
Right. I wish I could have typed that part in like 25 font. Because everybody out there needs to give yourself grace. Whatever is going on, whatever you think you're supposed to be doing, or the phase you're supposed to be at, or the way things are supposed to have gone, or look, this is not the life I had planned. Period. I waited till I was 30 to get married, 31 to have children. I thought I was following my little plan, to do things in this order that I had in my mind. And single mother at 47 wasn't on my list. Growing old without my husband at my side was not on my list, right? And I can't sit around and lament that because it just is. So I have to give myself grace. Okay, but what can you do? Chop off your hair so you look better. You can start losing some weight so you're healthier because your kids kind of need you. You can get your health back together. You can do what you know how to do. Get back to work.
Yeah.
Get your mojo back on, buy a dog, name him Mojo to remind yourself, we did all that. And I'm not by any means saying this is the way, but this is a way.
That's true.
And let us be an example to anybody who is lost or stuck or frustrated or so what's the word? Aggrandizing, is that the word I'm
Yes,
looking for?
Absolutely.
See how this works?
Okay.
What are the words I'm trying to say? I know it's recorded. To just give yourself grace. It's your life. You're here to live it. So we don't know how it's gonna go, right? And we just have to live it and then see what happens. That's the whole point of this Sims game that God has us all in. We're just living our life minute to minute sometimes,
And
hour to
when you're in
hour.
that swirl, like you were talking about, things are just moving so fast around you. You centered yourself and you grounded yourself and said, what is it that I know how to do that I can go back to and do? I've done it before
Mm-hmm.
when this wasn't the situation, but now that this is the situation, how do I move using that as my anchor?
Mhm.
How do I move using that?
As my
And,
North Star. And it got to a point where I don't even really say it. I've been saying it more in the context of this as it's more like a vibe or
yes.
is that,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
my little mantra.
not
It's
like,
like I
"Do
don't
what
sit
you
every
know how to
night and
do."
say, "What do you know?"
I must do what I know how to do. You know, it's more like, all right, well, that's a mess, but let me fix that. You know, okay, well,
I
this
see
is
that.
not gonna
I'm
work
working
out.
on this, but I'm gonna get to that too.
Yeah. Sims game that God has us all in. Never looked at it that way.
That's right.
I mean, if you've ever watched anybody play Sims, which my daughter does,
This designing thing is just like I want this to be put here, and then you're gonna get that factor in that you weren't anticipating. I didn't feed somebody over here.
yep. And now they're in the corner.
Right,
Rocking.
man.
You know, don't be in the corner. You know what God gave us, unlike Sims, free will, so that we can make choices and decisions and operate in faith that it's going to work out. And that's really what it means when life takes a turn and you didn't see it coming. And instead of just sitting in that, what am I going to do? What's my next move?
Well, you were bold, and it took a lot of courage to do what you did. Courage in a way that you used you like wrangled all of your gifts, like your poetry and the way you create images, the way you connect with people and keep them. It's almost like an embrace. It's like, come on, I'm here. It's like, okay, take care of yourself. It's like if you're taking care of yourself in all of this,
Oh, like
then you have to focus.
Put on your oxygen mask before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that, did I?
But you acknowledge that.
Okay.
That was part of your process.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but then you had to move past that because you weren't breathing.
I'm putting everybody's oxygen mask. You got a mask?
Yeah. Trying. Like, okay. And then you had to like change up.
Yep, had to. Let's see, we have comments here that we need to. Althea said it was the wind chime for me. The wind chime is still out there. I showed, so Neeka had never been to my house. So everything that we were describing, she had imagined in her head. So I showed her the wind chime, I showed her the deck.
I was like, where did you write?
The 2-seater. She said a 2-seater.
I drove up and the first thing I saw was a 2-seater and I was like, dang, I know exactly where I am. I can probably walk through the house in my mind and know where everything is. And it was so close. It was so close to the way I imagined it.
That's awesome.
Even you come into the door, because that's the first part. And I was like, I had to pause and you were like, oh, like, wait a minute.
Because I forgot I was dealing with
You were talking about the foyer and all this.
The foyer and my brother at the door.
Yes. And I'm like, what did that feel like? Because you actually you can see what's coming at you through the door. And it's almost a metaphor. Guys.
Oh, because it's glass.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's how I know I'm good because I don't even think about that type of thing anymore.
Right.
I'm just like,
yes, feeling yeah. I was like, oh, like this.
But there was a
time in life.
I would always think of.
But you were so close, and that's the confirmation again. Like you were so close with the way you drew the pictures that I knew it. I saw it. I don't. And it wasn't like I have to see things, just every little detail. It's you were really honest about what you were sharing. You were so honest about it that everybody's invited. Everybody can
Mhm.
see, you know, your honesty. And that's the strength of sharing this story.
Yeah, Annie is making a point here. She said, I think the book has the perfect quality and is not so compacted. Thank you. I cried, Ashley's little hand on her father's casket, laughed, the garbage incident, and took something away from it. How I plan to celebrate my cousin's birthday next month, whom I lost in January.
Celebrating.
That's it. That's it. Sheila, so I used to call the two-seater the weekend car because that's what it was. When she was like, this is just for you. Nobody can ride with you because it's only 2 seats. Ha!
That's
So, yeah. So now it's been renamed the Real MVP.
Mhm.
Because every time I was down, homegirl was there like, come on, child.
That's
We're going to do what we can. We can't do everything.
It's like you have this big thing, but then can you focus on some little stuff and go where you need to go? So yeah, that's something.
Yeah. And then somebody hit it. You know.
Yeah, it was like, and the front was what? And then you sent me the picture. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that was scary. Just
And the fact that I chased the man,
with the front
obviously,
gone.
right, who obviously something was wrong with him because he backed up at a red light. Who does that?
Right.
Into a whole car. Now, I was little and he was in a big truck, so he probably didn't see me. But where are you going, sir? That's not the way we're going. We're going this way when the light turns. I have not gone to the part yet where I go, God, what was that supposed to teach me on that? A lot of stuff I have, but I what that was supposed to teach me.
But even when you were telling me what happened, you were like, well,
I kind of chased him.
I was like, no, you didn't.
Yes,
Like,
I did.
And then we stopped writing to like, okay, tell me exactly what happened. What was it on CNN? What happened? Because I didn't know the outcome. I was like, I'm assuming you didn't know it.
Home. Taking a photograph for the insurance company but it was like that thing about being strong, right? I was in the middle of trying to be strong. I was coming home late from probably trying to work or something. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah. No, I was taking Jasmine something. She needed something that I had. And I said, I'll meet you because I didn't want her driving all the way in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'll meet you at this gas station. I'll meet you halfway. And I was headed back home. And that was it. I was like, I have lost it. I'm about to lose it. He about to get everything I'm holding inside. I'm gonna fight him in the street if I have to. It could have been a woman. It could have been
that. I might have lost a little bit for this, or I would have held on longer because everybody's breaking point is different. But to see you acknowledge yours and then grow from it, and we were talking about cycles. It's like you continue to do things, but then you get the learning from it. It's not a failure. It's like I've learned it, and now I'm going on to something else. And you continue to grow and expand the circle that you're living. And I think it's added so much to your long term. I don't know if it's purpose, but it's like those things that make you that they're motivating you now to go forward, and the things that you're getting so much joy and gratitude from with the kids and with your career and all that. It's like you had to get to a point where you could even enjoy that.
My whole focus changed, and not because it had to. First of all, because I just couldn't travel like I did,
Right.
Without daddy just here at home with the kids. And even though they're now 19, 16, one of them doesn't live here, and the other one could technically, be okay. It's not like you said, that's not what my North Star is anymore. Now I'm trying to get things that are building legacy for families. I'm trying to know what I didn't do. I knew to do it, but I didn't do it with the estate, right? I'm trying to make sure that families don't go through the steps if they don't have to, that we went through post death, because I know better. But they always say the cobbler's children have no shoes, the hairdresser's hair is always a mess.
Right?
The lawyer's husband didn't have a will. So now my focus is more on how can I make sure that I help the next person, not because I'm Mother Teresa or anything like that, but it's just like, okay, chasing, this dollar figure or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not the thing anymore. Like now I want to watch the kids build their careers. I want to watch them go through that. Right. And I have all these 30-something friends that are just, and I'm like, that's so cute. Y'all go ahead. I'm just gonna be over here chilling with my cigar.
you're very focused on what is soothing to you, what centers you, even your process. When I watched you, I was like, oh, here she goes with that, with her, I don't know what we call it. So she had the cigar, and then she had the laptop, and she was like, okay, who's writing tonight? I said, no, you're speaking tonight. Okay, well, let me get something so that I can speak. And I was like, okay, the lighting's right. It's not like she's got the spotlight on. We're not on Zoom. We're just having this conversation. Like we're sitting on the porch, like when we first met, because it was not. Yeah. So we went in the same situation.
But your spirit spoke to me and said, this is a safe place. I don't know if I had been through something like this. I'm telling what had happened that day.
I know.
One day I'll remember, but I just needed to get some stuff off my chest. And you seem like a soft landing spot. And God knows you were, because then you had the context for this 3 years later. And when Cherry gave me your number, she had given it to me and I didn't see it because I was like, I'm not calling no editor. I'm just going to figure out if I'm going to do this first of all. And then she's like, call Neeka. I said, well, you didn't send me the number. She's like, it's above, but here it is again. I hadn't even noticed it was above. And then when I went to type it in, it was in my phone all that time. And so, this has been a God thing. I used to say, I don't know why God wants me to do this. I do know now, thanks to you guys, because you have told me in your messages, your texts, your phone call, your reviews, the stuff you're saying in these comments. You have told me why I had to do this. It was for all of us to get better.
And even when we started, Dorna had 50 questions. How are we going to do this? I was like, let's just do it. Let's just, you've already gotten, let's see what you have. Let's just go. Let's worry about any other thing. Like, how are we going to format it? We're going to, I was like, I know you'll figure it out. And let's just get you started. Yeah, let's get started right now.
Because I needed to see, I needed to visualize that this is not an essay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I needed to see it. It needed to look like a book. I need to see how the shots landed on the page. It looked like a book. I know, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. I needed to see that the shots sat on the page, right? The 3 things, we call those shots. I needed to see how they sat on the page.
Yeah.
I needed to see
things that stop you right there. It's like this. This is going to either move you forward. It's going to invigorate. The story is going to give some pause to how we were thinking, how the conversation stopped, the flow.
Right.
And that's why they're there, and they're so important to the formula that we use to get you to write.
And this is why you're a genius, because the responses I'm getting back from people is that I couldn't turn the pages fast enough. I read it from cover to cover, and y'all are in here, so let me know if that's you. But that momentum, right, that it built.
And Dorna always says, "Oh, you gassing me up about book signings and stuff." I was like, "Well, you've already read it to me. Isn't that what they do in a book signing? You read excerpts from this." I was like, "You've done it to me, like the whole book. You don't even do the whole book in a book signing." I was like, "I see things. I start seeing it happening." And I was like, I was like, you can read that. It's almost like scripting. We were talking about seeing a play. And I was like, oh yeah, they have those that's something without music that you're telling a story.
The lights can come up and down, but that's all you get.
Yeah. That's okay. If we stop here, what happens? If we stop here, what happens? And I wanted to make sure that no matter where you stop, where you have to pause for yourself, not for you as the author, for the reader. Yeah. And I would do that. I was like, okay, Dorna, give me a minute. Let's think about this.
A lot of people are messaging me saying, okay, I got to page 5 and fell apart. I'm on page 85 and I need a minute. I'm drowning.
And that's the intent. What we did, I knew that they could understand what you were trying to express. If we stopped, it's like if we keep adding stuff, it's like, let me give you more detail about this so you understand. It's like, no. They're gonna get it.
Because some of it's here.
That's it.
A lot of it's here. Yeah. I mean, this is still bugging me. I wrote a book. People like it. And not even people like it, but people are growing and healing and crying and whatever needs to happen.
Healing is a lot.
They're not laughing and pointing like, girl,
I don't know what you feel.
I mean,
Right.
it was just meant to be. It was just something that was meant to be. And I've never been more proud of you I mean, I've seen all of your accolades. I Googled you. And what else are you doing? I was like, Tabby, she done a lot of stuff.
And living a good, strong 7 lives. I got about 2 more. It's funny you said that. I was at the seminar today, and my client was hosting it, and I was telling the audience that she interviewed me to hire me, and that I wasn't offended. I said, you can either Google me or you can ask me.
Right.
You know, and so now when you Google me, all this comes, the trash can is gonna be up there. But the thing is, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm way okay. I feel better, and I won't share other people's, feelings, because you taught me, this is my story to tell. I have license to tell my story. But I feel lighter because I don't have anything. It's all in here.
It's another way of your releasing.
It's the
But
best.
there's so many, you had so many weights on you, and you carried them so well, even though you don't acknowledge that. Just seeing how it inspires other people is incredible. I never expected. I expected, people to read it and maybe give you, their feedback. But
I thought it was going to be a rehash of all that sympathy.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Or why didn't you tell me you were going through all that? Girl, what the hell? That's what I thought was going to happen.
But it was more confirmed. We talked about these, and I kept saying it every time she sent me something. It's like another confirmation. It's like, that's another confirmation that you were supposed to do this, because you were like, maybe I shouldn't. And I was like, the date is tomorrow, so you better get somewhere.
You said we're gonna have a sin party.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I called that night. I don't know. To make sure we cheers and we did something.
We did cheers.
We had to acknowledge it, because this is a huge milestone. It was something you really focused on and wanted to do. And we all have things that I might want to do this, or I'm not gonna do it.
Thinking about.
Yeah. My mom was a librarian. And so I was like, look at these ISBN numbers. This makes it official. And when you told me, I said, you have an ISBN number? I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is impressive. I was like, I'm such a nerd. That got it for me that day.
At the point that I was looking in other people's books to understand how page formatting was and how the numbers go, and
Yes.
the words go at the top of the title.
I love that.
Hey, I'm really doing this.
She a designer.
I had done the cover twice.
Yeah. But when it came to this
is
like,
the one. It was originally yellow, white with blue. This is the one.
Yeah. Every night we saw the yellow. We started with the yellow and the white, and I was like, and then when this one came out, I was like, oh yeah. So this is more like is calming, and
it's got blue. It looks like broken, shattered glass behind it.
Yeah, shattered.
But it's not clear that that's what it is. It could be a flower that's blooming. It depends on how you look at it, right? You know? And it's blue, and that's perfect. That's favorite color. Yeah. Let's read the last few comments, and then we're gonna toast with what's left of my old fashioned. I don't know about yours.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We have a soft landing spot. That's you. You had what you needed the whole time, which was, we had each other's numbers. Like you said, we just hadn't called because honestly, if we had been talking about this, it wouldn't have impacted you in a way that you could see it for the first time, like the reader.
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. Sheila said, yes, I was on the edge of the bed and couldn't put it down. Colleen said, so beautiful, I had to read it all at once. Thank you. Yes, all of Sheila's comments start with yes. You're an accomplished author. Don't forget to write a person to me when you sign my book. I got you, girl. I got you. Hopefully weight lifted off to share. Yes, and I recommend it to people. I mean, I don't think we all want to do what we did.
Yeah. But it's important to
but
get
something
get it
out. Yeah. Whether it's journaling or coloring or something, I really recommend writing it down to read it back. It doesn't have to be for anybody else, but for me, when she made me read to her, is when I healed. And, we've talked about audiobook. I'm in the studio. The mic is here. I could do it in minutes, but I feel like I have because I read it to you. But if people want me to, I certainly will. But that was important.
Yeah.
The reading it to you.
Yeah.
It really changed my kids and I's ways of dealing with grief, being raised not to show emotion, be suspect strong, supposed to be strong, sweep it all under the rug, throw the rug. Transparent moments have begun the healing and how to move forward in a healthy manner. I am so happy to hear that, Colleen. You've shared your family's lot. I'm so happy to hear that has, that's, how could I question this? I'm just going to get on a cruise ship in the morning and float away. I'm happy. I'm not just saying that. I'm literally going to get on a cruise ship tomorrow and spend the week on the water. Just grateful. So this will be my third cruise. The first one was in the book. It was screaming at the sky and, crying and just needing to be alone. The second one was similar for another reason, but still grieving a loss or grieving a transition or a change.
Yeah.
This one it was supposed to be the 20th anniversary and me just coping with my feelings, but your responses to this story,
right,
which is not a story, it's our life, and you kind of mothered me through this, to be quite honest. You really did. I just feel empty, but in a good way. Like I'm not carrying, like if you've been carrying something and you put it down and your arms hurt and then they don't. Yeah, now my arms don't hurt. Like this.
Yes.
And it feels like it's been out for years, but it's been out for what, 4 days, 5 days?
5 days.
5 days. I feel like my arms don't hurt anymore.
See how she does that.
And so I think this trip will just be gratitude, just sun on my face, water, sand on my toes, just grateful to still be here in my right mind, mostly. My children, I could weep, that you want me to cry? Make me think about how they are doing. And it didn't have to be this way. I just can't say that enough. We could have lost our motherfucking minds. Just like any of you could have. And we need to acknowledge what we've accomplished, whatever you're working through or fighting through or dealing with. You're still here, so you've accomplished something. You have to acknowledge that and give that space to just be important to you. Because one thing my husband did was he was always looking past whatever happened to the next thing, and he never sat with what he had done and appreciated it for what it was.
Yeah.
And I'm very intentional about that. So the timing of this, I was going on this cruise whether y'all were laughing and pointing at me like Jada and Will or not, but the timing of it being, I'm so full and I'm so sure that I am in the will of God, that this is what God wanted me to do, even though it feels vain to me to be talking about myself this much, because I don't think I do. My friends can tell me, do I talk about myself like this? Jesus. But it's not about us. It's about you guys saying, my family is moving through grief.
Right.
That.
Yeah. And people, like you said, acknowledging things. It took a lot to do this. It took a lot. It was a short period of time, but it was intense. It was a lot. And you had to be committed to opening yourself and sharing in a way that was honest. It was so honest. It was so raw at sometimes that I was like, I'm not a therapist. I hope I'm not hurting her by making her go places she wasn't ready. And I was like, okay. But then you started doing other things and you're like, this is for context. And I'm like, she's ready. The more she's ready to share, I can go back to things that we put in green and say, now I know how we should do this. Now I know what's missing in this recipe. We just got to put a little more cayenne up in here. We can get
put some vinegar to cut that
back.
So folks, I just am grateful that you came into my life in this way. You guys would not be reading the book you're reading without her. Make no bones about that. She didn't ghostwrite it, and we didn't AI it. There's not one word of AI in this book. AI would have been like,
I was like, don't know.
what you want me to say? I don't
I
know.
don't know who said that. This
This is not an AI book.
No.
Nothing against them if that's what you do. But yeah, it's for such a time as this, my friend Monica and I always say, and beauty for ashes.
Yes.
This is beauty for ashes. All the people that are being touched, and it hasn't even made it past people that I actually know yet.
Yes.
But I feel like, and you all have been telling me this, but I do feel like it's going to end up in hands of people that we have no idea.
Yeah, and another thing, just when I was looking up other stories, other people, I never saw us. I never saw anybody who looked like us,
Oh,
who looked like you, who looked like us, telling the story. And it happens to us.
Secrets, honey. We don't
We-
be out there telling my business.
And we researched. We did a lot of stuff, a lot of extra stuff, but we were like, why are we not telling the story? And then you came back with statistics. So, ooh, we're gonna use that later, but the context here tells us, confirms that this is it is important to tell this story.
35% of children under age 18 are clinically depressed.
What? That.
Every week I'm hearing about somebody that either attempted suicide or was suicidal,
Yeah.
or was successful, or I don't know how to phrase it.
Which was good because you share resources. It's like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, where do I go?
Don't call me because I'm not a professional. I'm just going to tell you how to get help. Get help.
Yeah. Search for the help that's right for you too,
Yeah.
because you talked about different types of
Yes.
help that you had to look at, and who knew that was even a process?
Right, and be that soft space, that safe space. Sorry, for people if they open up to you. Was it last night? Yeah, no, Friday night. I was leaving a client event, and a person who was involved in read the book called to say that someone that she knew had just witnessed someone trying to kill themselves, and they had stopped them, but they were going through trauma, and they called her, and she felt that. I'm glad that you trust me and let me listen. And she was hearkening on what she read in the book to think of what to do to help him, help his friend.
Yeah.
These are not coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
These are not coincidences. Let's see what else we got. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Beauty for Ashes. Yep. #1 best-selling author whose story will touch many, save lives, and encourage healing. Okay. Yes, prestige book clubs. Your name will be in rooms you haven't been in. Okay. WWDD. What would Dorna do? We'll stop on that because I'm gonna sell bracelets. I'm just kidding. And this is the last thing I'm gonna say. This is the first thing I've spent this kind of time on that I don't care if it makes a penny. That's the other thing. I don't know. I don't care. It's not these comments and this stuff.
Right.
This is gold. Just people knowing. Or me feeling like people got the point that we were trying to convey. And the intention. Right. Like, okay, what are we trying to do here? And it's just helping somebody. I'm 50 now. I don't have time to worry about anything except something positive. The soft life is all I'm trying to do.
Right.
We've earned it, and if we can drag a few more people down the soft life path and understanding how to give themselves grace and understanding that things happen. That's not the word that came to mind, but I'll say things happen, and it's all about how we move through it and give ourselves space, hold space for others. We had a beautiful session on Zoom the other night after the live where we just held space for people to share their grief walk, what they got from the book, if anything, that helped them with that. And it was heavy, but it was needed.
It was a lot of different.
It was needed. Oh my goodness.
It was so powerful.
Yeah. And we'll do that again. I can't do that every week. I'm just being honest with y'all. Or twice a week or whatever. But we'll do that again. But mostly I encourage people to do that with whoever you trust, your soft space, your soft spot to land, your therapist, better help, silence the shame, 741-741, text silence, 741-741, 988, I think it is. I mean, there are resources. There are people who can help you if you're in this situation, or if you're a family member and you believe you have a family member that needs help. It's important to not keep it in. And this is me saying this, Miss Fortress, Miss Private,
Yeah.
married to Mr. Private.
Yeah.
He would lie before he'll tell you his business, you know.
Right.
But it makes a difference. It's made a difference in my household, my son. It's made a difference in your households. And I'm just empty. I'm exhausted mentally. I'm drained. I'm tired. I'm happy. Just everything.
Sounds like you're ready for a cruise.
If I pack, I'd be ready. That'd be nice if I actually pack. It was amazing. We thank you. Servitude. I need this book in my office because I work with college students who are high risk. I believe this would be a great resource. So yeah, so I'm going to be listening to God to tell me what to do with the books. Because like I said, every dime that's been earned, I've been putting just buying books. So I'll be listening to God to figure out where he wants those to go. Who needs this, you know.
I think the workbooks will be helpful too, because maybe you're not the person who's going to jump in the comments or send a note, but you need something to get you started, And so this will get you started. It will, I think that's an excellent idea. It's like, how do I work through this?
Yeah.
What's my first step?
We're gonna now.
My personal first
I'm not
step.
gonna put a deadline on it.
Not doing it.
Right. I'm not gonna put a deadline on the workbook. I'm not, because
Because
I had one and it was like, no, it was November 3rd, the day that he died. But it's October 20 something. It's just not gonna happen. And I'm okay with that. It'll be in November though.
But I think with the feedback that you're getting now, the comments, and that you can make it even more, it'll have a better structure to it, and you'll be able to touch on some of the things that resonate most with.
I believe that. And my son, I just want him to have the space he needs to write. Because that is so important to me as a mother, to see him. If he gets out of it half of what I got out of it,
Yeah.
I could just prop me up somewhere with a cigar and an old fashioned. I'm good.
That's the secret recipe.
Yeah. So thank you guys. I know I've been saying that over and over, but thank you guys for just being receptive to this, and for applying it to your life, because that matters to us. You know, that we did, and it meant something. It mattered. Everybody just wants to know that they matter, including Neeka and myself. Right. So Oprah Winfrey always said, people just want to know, do you hear me? Do you see me? Do I matter? Your responses to this are saying yes, and us reading them and it edifying us is saying, yes, you matter. It matters to us that this matters to you.
That's right.
Healing for my son is imminent. It is done. We're gonna sit on that. We're gonna sit on that. So I appreciate you guys so much. I will see you sometime next week. I don't know when, because again, I'm giving myself grace. And those of you who are Bonnet Confessions fans, you'll see me in about 20 minutes in a bonnet. Versatility. But I just can't say thank you enough. Continue to share this with your family members that you think can help. It can help. Continue to post the reviews on Amazon so it can get up the ranks. It's actually number 40 in the grief category, nonfiction. That was 2 days ago. I didn't look yesterday. And I was like, well, it must be 41 books in the category. It went all the way to 100. This book was number 40.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Long way.
So keep the reviews going, because it helps to get on people's radar. And I know when this happened to me, I was looking for books to read, and none of them were by stories. None of them were my people.
Yeah.
So, all right. I appreciate y'all. That's all. I can say that over and over again. We will see you next time. Keep sharing. Keep telling us what you're getting out of this, because we need it. And we'll see you next time. And we'll be working on the workbook. I promise. I promise. Now, I'm not telling you when, but I promise I am working on it.
That'd be good.
Yep.